Today I had a lovely class of kindergartners. They were so sweet and so beautiful. Little newbies to the educational system, just learning how to sit down and settle down. I had to say, "Can you stop crawling on the floor, please?" a few times, but that's okay. They were really awesome. I had to tell them about vitiligo, my vitiligo today, because I was doing a lot of overhead things, and when I stuck my hands in to put papers in, you could see my hands magnified on this huge screen above. So I needed to explain to them, because 5-year-olds can get very nervous around something that's different, makes them feel like, oh, maybe I'm hurt, or maybe I have some kind of disease or something. And so I give them the short, sweet explanation for 5-year-olds. But I'm going to give you the longer explanation. It is an autoimmune disorder where your liver doesn't make a certain enzyme, or it attacks the enzyme that sends the message to the melanocytes to make melanin, which creates your pigment. And so you're not creating, pigment on a regular basis. So sometimes you will create some, and sometimes you won't, but your body needs to be creating it all the time in order to keep the color of your skin. So for me, my body doesn't do that. Now, later on in life, when I saw some doctors, they talked about different causes, and one of them was if your mom smoked when she was pregnant with you, which back when the dinosaurs roamed the earth and I used to ride to school on my dinosaur named Fiesta, we didn't necessarily know how bad smoking was for you. So the doctors had told my mom that it would be too stressful for her to stop smoking while she was pregnant. So she shouldn't put that kind of stress on the baby, which was me. And so he told her to just smoke less, but just keep on smoking. And that's what she did. So that put a lot of stress on my liver as a baby. And my liver gave up that function to create those enzymes, or to send those enzymes over to the melanocytes. We noticed that I had vitiligo, although we didn't know what it was, when I was around 2, because I had spots on my ankles. And then as I grew older, every time I would scar white instead of dark. That became a lot of fun when I got into high school, and I would just make up stories about my scars because they were so obvious, so people would ask about them. I have one on my bikini line, and we used to just be at the beach or wherever, and people would ask about it. They'd say, "What happened?" And so I just make up stories and say, "Oh, it was a surfing accident or a hang gliding accident. I hit a hill and just make up things." And that made it a lot more fun. As I got older, it became less important to me because it was just skin color. But when I became pregnant with my first daughter, it just exploded. It went everywhere. So my face was blotchy, everything was blotchy. And with every subsequent pregnancy, it would just get more and more until it was pretty much, my face was just white, which is how it is today. And then I was blotchy everywhere else. At one point, my hands looked just white. They looked like gloves. But then I learned different things to do to get back some of my color. But I'm such an advanced case, it would be difficult to get back all of my color. But I do have more than I used to have because of the things that I do. So I take very good care of my liver because of this. I once saw a dermatologist because I have to go regularly to check for skin cancer, since not having enough pigment makes me a big skin cancer risk. So you always see me with long sleeves and long skirts and things like that, because I don't want to put expose my skin so much to the sun. And a lot of sunblock is carcinogenic. And so I still want to add to it by putting carcinogenic sunblock on. I do have a couple of sunblocks that I do recommend that are not carcinogenic, but I'll save that for another time. So anyway, I saw this one dermatologist, and he said, "Well, I can give you a cream to take off your color so that, you'd be all white." And I said, "What? Why would I want to do that?" And he said, "Well, because it would be more aesthetically pleasing." And I said, "Well, wouldn't that make me more susceptible to skin cancer? He said, well, yes, but you'd be all one color and then you'd be more comfortable. And I said, I don't want to look better in my coffin. I want to live a full and complete life, even if it is with blotchy skin. And he said, well, if you put it like that. I said, well, yes, and aren't you supposed to be protecting me and trying to help me live a full and complete life as best as I can? He said, well, I just thought you'd want to look better. And I laughed, and then I never saw him again because what? Anyway, so I try to do things non-toxic to put less pressure on my liver, because your liver processes toxins. And the more toxins they're going to have to process, the more other function they're going to give up, which for me is making those enzymes. And so I decided to get rid of all of the pans in my house that had Teflon or any of those coatings that are toxic. And there's other pans that you can get but they're really expensive and they're non-toxic. They work great. And I have a friend who has a whole set, but it's a couple $1,000s. So I instead got cast iron pans like this. And I have a whole set. I'm not going to pick them up for you because they're really heavy. And I also use stones because those are non-toxic as well. And the other thing with vitiligo is that a neurologist once told me that if you have vitiligo, you don't process iron or vitamin B12 very well. So these cast iron pans, you already get a little bit of iron. And once you're past your childbearing years, if you're a woman, it's you can get too much iron. And so there's kind of this balance that you have to strike. And for me, my body not maintaining that iron or that B12 means I really have to be careful. So I got these pans, which I will put the brand that I love in the link it below. And then I had trouble cleaning them. I would use the steel wool scrubbers, but, well, not steel wool, but it was like those metal ones. And they would just get so gross, and I just hated touching them, and you'd have to just replace them constantly, and it got expensive. So what I discovered is chainmail. Chainmail is awesome for scrubbing. You just put it like this, and then you can scrub. They have bigger ones. Then you can clean it in the dishwasher. You just hook it like this, and that's easily cleaned. And they kind of remind me of nights and the chainmail nights wear, but which is kind of fun. And it feels cool too, because it's just very, you know, I don't even know what you call it when you can do this, but that. And I really like it. And so it scrubs really well. You can't use it on things that scratch because it will scratch, just like steel wool would scratch. And then the other one I use is this one. And this lets me have a little more force. If I'm trying to scrub something and I can't get in there or into the corners, I'll use this. And I will put the link for those down below as well. And if you have any questions about vitiligo, you can let me know. One of the things that a second grader once told me after I talked about vitiligo and I spent the day with them, she looked at me and she said, it's like your skin is an adventure every day, because it's always changing and you get to see different things. It's like just an adventure, and you love adventure. And after that, that really helped me to embrace it even more as an adventure. And I really, really do love adventure.